All right, we have made it to chapter 400 of Hunter x Hunter, and what a journey it has been. You know, these 10 chapters have gone by so quickly. I feel like Hunter x Hunter just came back, and I knew that we were only going to get 10 in this batch before whatever happens with Hunter x Hunter happens, and I knew it, I was prepared for it, and I was psyching myself up for it, but even so, Togashi, dude, he does whatever the fuck he wants with his story, and I appreciate the hell out of it, and I love it for that, because chapter 400, that's a very significant number. That is a very high number of chapters that not a lot of manga get to. Also, chapter 400 is going to be the last batch in all of the chapters that we get this year. Also, there was a tease and a preview that Kurapika was going to be in this chapter, so people were wondering, where's Kurapika going to be, how he's going to play into everything that's been happening. And I love that Togashi doesn't put any significance on the fact that it's a chapter 400, puts no significance on the fact that this is the last batch of chapters that we're going to get. He just is literally continuing his story. He did the same thing with Hunter x Hunter's Return. It picked up exactly where it left off, did exactly what it needed to do, and continued moving forward, and this is just another chapter. But this chapter is significant in the sense that they're all significant in the Succession War arc, but here is where so many different things that are already in play are happening simultaneously. And again, I love that Togashi is like, well, it's your job as the audience to remember everything that's happening, or try to remember everything that's happening. Or, you know what? You don't remember? That's fine too. Just go along for the ride, because you know why? 90% of the characters don't know what the other 90% of the characters are doing. Does that make sense? No, 10%. What did I say? 10%? What I'm saying is that the characters are all discovering things as they go along as well. The Phantom Troop only knows so much, Melody only knows so much, the Succession War princes only know so much, and so forth moving forward. So here we are in chapter 400, and there is so much shit going on. This is another extremely dialogue heavy chapter. Although I'll give Togashi credit, within the 10 chapters we got this year, only 2 were kind of the, what's become a little bit of a parody of Togashi's writing style, where it is just this insane, like, book-length level of dialogue going on between the characters, which is fine for me, because I'm enjoying the storyline. I'm enjoying how it's all shaking out. I like the interaction between characters. I'm a very, character-heavy, dialogue-heavy person. I like dialogue-heavy movies and TV shows and stuff like that, but only when it's interesting, only when the characters are trying to figure out things. But without further ado, okay, let's get into what's actually going on here. Part of this chapter we see is we are picking up with Phaeton and Finks, who have the tracking device that is looking for the room that Nobunaga and Hinrai entered into the last chapter. Hinrai was able to place the tracking device. They don't know where in the ship this room is, but Finks and Phaeton have the locator, and they're searching for it, but it seems like they're on tier 3. It could be on tier 4 or tier 2. They're not really sure the distance, so they start making their way towards tier 4. They wind up meeting up with Nobunaga, which was shocking, because many different things could have happened with Nobunaga being by himself, but he has reconvened with the troop. And not only that, but they also want to reconvene with Franklin before they move up to tier 2, because as they get closer to 4, the tracking device gets further away, so they're like, okay, tier 2. It seems weird, it seems suspicious that the leader of the group, that Morena, would be up there. It seems a little strange, but as they're talking and as they're kind of figuring this out, a couple of different things are mentioned. One is the reminder by Finks that we are invested, because we are trying to get in good with the mafia groups here to gain the access points in order to move through all the tiers flawlessly. But don't forget, the reason that we're doing that is because we're here to kill Hisoka. Hisoka is on the ship. He's looking for us. We need vengeance for Shalnark and Kurapika. That's why we're here. This mafia stuff is just kind of like a side quest for us, right? Basically. But having said that, as they get deeper and deeper invested, they're noticing the abilities, just like in the last chapter. Now, Nobunaga is obviously much more powerful than the people that they faced, but with Nen, that doesn't always matter. If you have a power of eviction and you can create a Nen entity that can't be harmed and can just, throw you out of the location, well, that's something you have to figure out how to overcome, more than just being physically dominant. So there are characters here. There are many characters working for Morena that have interesting and unique Nen abilities that they consistently grow, that the Phantom Troop, or Nobunaga specifically, finds interesting enough that he wants to keep delving into this and figure this out and accomplish what they've been essentially hired to do. But before that, they are going to go get Franklin, who last time we saw him is on the bottom tier of the ship, and he's just kind of sitting there chilling, waiting for Hisoka to show up to him. So that's a whole different dynamic that will come into play, I'm sure. And who knows, we might be taking a break from these three. A lot of these 10 chapters were about Finks, Phaeton, and Nobunaga, but now we might be taking a break for them as they need to go down, get Franklin, and then bring him back up. Then we shift focus, and we are going fully back into the Succession War. Remember the Succession War arc? You know, the arc called Succession War, the one that we're in right now? Well, there's a Succession War going on. We may have forgotten. It's been a while. It's been about 4 years. But there is actually a Succession War happening here between the princes. And throwing us back into this and getting my brain to try to reconnect the dots of everything that happened prior to when these chapters came back, I got to admit, and I think it's the same for a lot of people out there, unless you reread all of the Succession War right before the new chapters came out, this was a bit of a struggle. However, I think I've managed to kind of wade my way through it, and I'm going to talk about it in the sense that I think I know what's going on. But remember, I'm no expert. I'm just a fan of Hunter x Hunter like everybody else. I'm doing my best out here in the world, so here's what I am getting out of the rest of this chapter as we deviate away from the Phantom Troop for the first time in a while. First, we cut to the 10th Prince, Tyson, and her kind of hanging out with a couple of her bodyguards and making them play along, believing that they're different characters. Each one gets progressively sillier, one saying that they're from outer space. And like, look, hey, honestly, I wouldn't put it past Togashi to just suddenly introduce aliens at this point, given everything else he's done in Succession War. But it's a fantasy. They're playing a game, they're playing characters. And if you remember, and I'm trying to remember correctly, this is just going off the top of my head off of this chapter, but I remember Tyson has the Nen ability, which is the Book of Tyson, which is kind of this holy Bible scripture about her, and everybody that reads it kind of gets won over by her, enjoys her presence, and gets happier. It's about love, happy, beauty, you know, all these positive emotions. They are influenced throughout your body as you read the book, and the more of the book that you read, the more you kind of get into it. And there's also a taboo in the book that you aren't allowed to perform, or else something bad happens, and we don't know what that taboo is or that bad thing. But one of her bodyguards is, what's his name? I forget his name, sorry. I can look it up here in a second, but he was the guy that taught Kurapika Nen. He's her bodyguard, and he's noticing the effects of this happening, and he suggests the idea of giving a copy of the book to the Kakin King. And if the Kakin King can somehow be influenced by that, then Tyson might have the ability to end the Succession War because if he becomes kind of compliant to her and is just happy and euphoric about Tyson, and Tyson can influence them and make them play characters and make them play her game and do all of these things, then maybe she can influence the king to just stop the Succession War. But in order to see him, you have to go through this like big process. Even though it's her dad, she has to go through this process to see him. So hasn't been done, but this is a theory, something that is floating out there of something that could potentially happen with her. So just the very fact that they showed this scene, maybe Togashi just wanted to address the issue, but it could lead to something bigger in the future. Now, the next part of this chapter cuts to this interrogation room, and we finally get to see Melody again, which is great because she had an extreme influence in the last batch of chapters that we got 4 years ago or whatever, where she caused this giant distraction by playing her flute, using her Nen ability, kind of like making everybody go into this haze while Fugetsu and Kacho try to escape the ship. The two sisters that are locked within the Succession War, they try to escape, and upon escaping, Kacho died. But Kacho's Nen ability was meant to manifest when she did die, kind of influencing the Nen after death, the Nen beast. It all kind of comes full circle, and it was going to be whichever sister died first, there would be a Nen beast that would manifest as the sister that died to help guide the sister who stayed alive through the Succession War. So Kacho died, and here she is. And the way that, I don't know, it might be the way that the chapter was translated, I'm not really sure, but it seems as though that this Kacho, that has been confirmed prior to be a Nen beast, fully believes that it is Kacho. So I think that's how I'm reading this correctly. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you got the same thing out of the chapter, but it seems to me that the Nen beast that looks like Kacho actually does believe that it is Kacho, like fully down, it like believes that it's a ghost of Kacho. Like, yes, I am Kacho. Yeah, I died, but here I am. Now, that's how I'm understanding it. But maybe you could also look at it that it is Kacho. Maybe it's like her essence or her spiritual self. You know, Hunter x Hunter is all about your aura and life force and life energy, which I'll get more into that here in a second. But maybe it is kind of like her consciousness, you know, within the Nen Beast. The concept of Nen after death has been very important in this story ever since the end of the Chimera Ant arc, and one of the things is, as strongly as you believe, as much conviction that you have in something, well, your energy stays around even after you die. And not to get too like metaphysical or spiritual or anything, but there is some truth to that. Like, nothing can be created or destroyed. You know, matter exists even down to the smallest particle. Your energy is still around. So that's why, you know, they feel like if you go into like a house that somebody died in, you feel like weird, you feel kind of strange. It's because they're holding on to those like negative energy that still stays around if they're dead. Sorry if I lost you, but it's just sort of like a way to translate it in my brain to understand what's happening. But yeah, essentially all I'm saying is that Kacho's Nen Beast ghost could just be made of Nen, or it could have lingering consciousness from Kacho herself, and I don't know what direction it's going. It doesn't explain it. It just says, she just admits, I am Kacho's ghost, and Melody and this guy interrogating her can also see her. So, now I forget the guy's name that's talking to Melody, but he's talking about how she has been requested to be brought and seen from a number of the princes. And I knew from beforehand that Serenich, the fourth prince, who is shaping up to be our strongest, you know, most terrifying antagonist of this arc, he wanted to see her, which was a terrifying concept in itself. But it seems that more princes also want to see her. I think that Benjamin did, the first prince. So did Zhang Li, who we see in this chapter, and a few others as well. So they all want to see her because they all sense this strange thing that happened, and they're curious about it. A lot of them are learning Nen along the way, so they want to see her. But there's this whole kind of complicated mess of like, should we do it? Should we not do it? Is somebody behind this? They'd start thinking about the idea of having all the princes meet her, you know, at the next banquet, and then kind of taking them out, doing another thing where they put them all into a trance momentarily, and then poisoning all the princes that are there. But that could also be somebody that is wanting them to do that, to take out the princes that want to meet her. So she's assuming that a different prince that does not want to meet her wants them to do the banquet, so they do that, and then poison all the princes and take them out. You know what? Actually, let me pull something up, because this can get really confusing, and I want to... This is our last Hunter x Hunter review for a while, so I don't care how long this video is. So let's pull something up and do this for real. Okay, so the princes that want to meet with Melody, Prince 3 and 4, Zhang Li and Serenich, want to have a private meeting with Melody. And Prince Benjamin, 1, 5, Tebeppa, and 7, Luzurus, want to have her perform at the next banquet. So they are assuming that a prince who is not one of these is also using this to their benefit, so that she will have that performance and take all of them out, right? So she would be able to take out Benjamin, Luzurus, and Tebeppa all at the same time if she performed and they did the poisoning thing. Now, originally I was thinking because of poison that they were using Tebeppa. By the way, this is like Hunter, this is the Hunter x Hunter like wiki page. It's not, it might not be 1000% accurate, but it's close enough. Because Tebeppa deals with science and experiments and poisons and things like that. So I would have thought that would be more of her realm, but if she's one of the princes that wants to meet her, then not so much. So the princes that don't, that matter, would be Camilla and Halkenberg, because Wobble's obviously a baby, so he don't care. Miriam is a toddler, so he don't care. It could be, I mean, it could be like the people around them, but, you know. And then Melody is looking after Fugetsu, so, and it's kind of Kacho and Fugetsu here together. So that's the prince that she's protecting, and so the ones that you have to worry about are the ones that are up here. But the idea is that another one of them that didn't request to meet her might want her to do the banquet anyways, just to eliminate the people that are there, and that could either be Halkenberg or Tyson. And my boy Halkenberg, He was my favorite of the princes, by the way, if you don't know. Hawkenberg is my boy. Ever since he kind of confronted his father and like tried to do the thing to shoot himself and it didn't work, and he was like, all right, you know what? I'm committed to this. And I don't know. I also just like a dude in a suit. You know what? Maybe I should start wearing more suits in the reviews. So the guy talking to Melody recommends doing the poisoning thing once they have the big get together, but you never know who he could be working for behind the scenes. Melody asks him, why he would want to help her and everything. And I love, you go into this classic like Togashi comedic moment where he's like, I have a crush on you. That's why. And, the funny thing about it is Melody is good at reading people because she can hear their heartbeats so well. And she notices he has a very calm heartbeat as he's explaining this to her. So she thinks that he's lying, and that he's probably working for somebody else or, giving somebody information behind the scenes, that that's not the actual reason why he wants to help. But you know what? He could actually just be like so comfortable within his position that he just admits it. And he's like, yeah, so this is the truth. I like you. Also, it's really funny to have a character have a crush on Melody. We had that one guy that was simping over Biscuit when she grew all gigantic and, muscular and stuff. And he's like, I love muscular women. It's like, why can't we have a dude that likes bald women also? So that's a thing here. And then we got to talk about what's happening with Fugetsu. So Fugetsu and Kacho were the two sisters that were the closest. Once again, Kacho's Nen Beast is taking on the appearance of Kacho after she died, but it believes that it is the real Kacho. She goes to see Fugetsu, and Fugetsu is like on fucking meth, basically. No, what's happening is something, there's two things that could be happening with her, and it's not completely defined within this chapter, but there's two theories I'm going with. One is that Fugetsu is constantly using her Nen ability. So she has the door that's the passageway that she can kind of go wherever she wants to. And she's been using it over and over again, getting stronger, getting better with it. And she tells Kacho, she feels like she's overflowing with magic, is what she's calling it. She feels like she's overflowing with magic. And since Nen is ultimately, at the end of the day, it is a very fancy power system, but when you break it all down to the meaning behind it and where it comes from, it is essentially your life force energy. It's your chi, it's your ki, it's yourself, it's your life, it's your vital life force. So you're using your life force energy to manifest into something, and you're channeling it, controlling it, able to do it instead of just having it kind of seep out of you day by day, right? We learned this way back when Wing was teaching Gon and Killua how to use Nen. So at the end of the day, when you use Nen, you're using your own vital life force, and that's why it can become so dangerous. That's why Kurapika's ability of Emperor Time drains literal days off his life, as he uses it, because it's so powerful that it's draining your life force. So with Fugetsu, one of the things that could be going on is that she is in this constantly active state of using Nen, and therefore it's depleting her life force. And so it's kind of making her go a little crazy, a little bit insane. And we also see these darker kind of spirits that are attached to her. And I'll get to that in 1 second. There's so much shit to talk about in this chapter. But one thing that could be doing it is because as she's using her life force energy, she's getting closer to death. It's drawing more negative energy. It's drawing darker forces. Now, HunterXHunter has never gotten into, demons or anything like that. And I don't think that's necessarily what it is. I think it's just it would be more like a manifestation of darker energy, right? It's not an existing thing, but it's a manifestation of that pain, torment, turmoil, trauma, that sort of thing. It's your sleep paralysis demon, if you will, because she's clearly underslept. Now, the other thing that it could be is the curse of the Untouchables. Does anybody remember what this is? So back in, I don't remember when, Camilla commissioned a bunch of her followers, these outcasts called the Untouchables, to perform a sacred or maybe a demonic ritual, whatever you want to call it, called the Curse, or I forget, it might have a specific name. I can't remember what it was called. So the Untouchables are from this ancient ritual where when a prince would die, somebody would join them in death to look after them. So they would basically sacrifice their lives for the princes. Now, the group of Untouchables still exists, and Camilla is the person that Camilla gave them a second purpose in life, if you will. And she commissioned a bunch of these Untouchables to essentially do the opposite and perform a curse. So because of that, each member was assigned a specific prince, and they are supposed to think about it's like a group hypnosis. Like, you think about the prince constantly, you look at their picture all the time, you do nothing but focus intently. You're putting all of your mental energy, all of your physical, spiritual energy, you're thinking nothing about anything else except this prince. And then at some point, you're supposed to go meet the prince, kill yourself, kill yourself in front of the prince, and then you curse them by doing that. And that nen after death, remember that that spiritual energy, when you're focused on something, you believe in something, you follow something, all of your heart, mind, body, spirit all follows one particular thing. And so if all of your thinking goes into, I hate this person must die, I am cursing this person, and that's all you think about, and then you die, your energy, your nen after death continues that progress, curses them, and then they die of slow, horrible, miserable death. So could that actually be what is happening to Fugetsu? Could she have been cursed by the Untouchables? Now, she does not mention anybody killing themselves in front of her. However, that could have happened off screen. We don't know. And that could be where these things are coming from. They could be depleting her energy. They could be basically feeding off of her. They could be like parasites. They could be like succubus. They could be like just attached to her, just nen, just this negative, horrible energy just locked onto her, latched onto her, and kind of depleting all of her life force as she goes on. And maybe in a day or two, she will be dead. I don't know. It could be either of those two things. But Fugetsu is in a lot of trouble right now. And that's pretty much where we leave her at this point. Then it goes back to Melody, and she does meet with the third prince, Zhang Li. And they have to meet between this like glass because nobody trusts each other. You know, it's this official thing. I guess probably to meet a prince, obviously, is an extremely big deal, especially while the succession war is going on. So no chances taken. But Zhang Li does give her a coin. And I don't think that we have learned the full extent of what these coins do, but he's giving them to his followers as they are with him. The number on the coin increases. And I don't know if the number has to increase to 100 to do something. I don't know what it is. It's probably a measure of somebody's loyalty. But giving one to Melody. And first of all, Melody should know better that, okay, I understand the king is giving you a gift, you don't know what it is, so you say yes. She didn't know what it was ahead of time, I know. But listen, we live in a world of nen, and until you read the terms and conditions on something, you shouldn't be accepting anything from anybody ever, all right? Saying I consent, which is another thing that happens here in the last page, saying the words I consent in a world with nen when you haven't read the terms and conditions is a horrible idea. Anyway, she grabs one of those, they have their little interaction. And, she doesn't perform for him or anything, but he wants her to. And there's, this caution that's happening. Now, the next person that shows up is from Serenach's camp, but Serenach is not coming out of his room. We've already discussed that, how he's locked in there. He's basically trying to become a master of his nen ability. When he gets focused on something, that is just what he does. He trains diligently until he is an absolute professional at it. And so he's not coming out. So he's sending other people to do his work for him. Just like Morena isn't able to get a hold of him. Just like so many different things that are happening here. So he sends a guard that wants Melody to come perform for him personally, which is something we've heard of. Melody says she doesn't think she can do that because there's a lot of like red tape to kind of go around. So she does not agree to it. And there's so much caution about who's working with who, whatever. So when she goes back and talks to the interrogator, she tells him that to go get Kurapika because she knows him, she trusts him, she understands that if he's with her, first of all, that's two brains that are thinking about the same thing. Also, she knows that Kurapika is, admirable in his decision-making process, and he's not going to screw her over, and he's going to be on her side, right? Because Melody, he's been with Melody before many times, different missions, like they have a connection. So he's supposed to go get Kurapika. But before we finally, in the last page of chapter 400, after Hunter x Hunter's return all year, we finally get to see Kurapika for one page. And I don't think that Melody is going to get a chance to speak with Kurapika because he has already been propositioned by one of Tebepa's men and he agrees to go see her. Tebeppa has requested him specifically because her Nen Beast has something to do with an activation of companionship. So she needs another person to activate whatever it does. So I don't really know what it's a big frog. I don't know what it does. Or maybe it's just something else as well. And he says, I consent. Kurapika, my boy, you of all people should know better. So by the end of this chapter, we have Nobunaga, Finks, and Phaeton heading down to Tier 5 to get Franklin to go up to Tier 2 to take out the Hylia. Okay? Then we have Kacho, who is a Nen Beast, who believes that it is the real Kacho, visiting Fugetsu, who is clearly plagued by something, an overuse of Nen, or an untouchable curse, or something else. I don't know. We have Melody, who is in high desire by a lot of the princes in order to see her. Some want to see her by themselves, Zhangli and Serenich, which she does not agree to, and some want her to play at the next banquet, which she's considering, but still not agreeing to completely. We also have Tyson and a little bit more of her group kind of just embracing and becoming these playful, lovely characters, everybody falling into her game, and the idea that maybe she could try to get the book to the king to help influence him. I don't think that's going to work, but it's there. And then we have Kurapika in the final page, who has agreed to go meet with Prince Tebeppa, and who knows what could happen with that. The princes we don't see in this return is we did not see Benjamin. We didn't see what he's up to. We didn't see Camilla. We didn't see Hulkenberg. We didn't see Miriam, who's the little boy. And we didn't see Wobble, but Wobble's a baby. But he also is the only prince whose Nen Beast we have not seen. We have not gotten any answers into the serial killer, which is Silent Majority. Overall in the arc, Hisoka now has a ticket to go up to Tier 1. Did he actually go? Is he on his way? Is he going to meet the troop on Tier 2? That is also in question. What else do we have going on? We also obviously have the rest of the Phantom Troop that is searching for Hisoka as well. The Mafia is still at war. Succession War is ongoing. Beyond is still in a jail cell. We're moving towards the Dark Continent. Jean and Pariston are on the ship, but they probably don't matter until Succession War is over. Leorio is on here as well, but he probably also doesn't matter. The Zodiacs are on here too. Well, guys, I know this was a long review, but this was a really deep, in-depth chapter, and you know what? By God, I want to give you guys the best, most comprehensive review that I possibly can, because I feel like I owe it to you guys. And the fact that this is the last Hunter x Hunter chapter we're going to get in this year. And I just want to say before I end this video that I really, really appreciate you guys for giving the Hunter x Hunter reviews the love that you did. On this channel, I talk about many, many different things. I talk a lot about different manga, anime, and movies, and other stuff, and skits, and whatever else I do on this channel. But truthfully, it's difficult. It is very difficult to get views, and that's a normal thing for YouTube. But I tend to do very well whenever I talk about Berserk. Berserk is my favorite manga. I do well. But that's not the only video I want to make. I want to make lots of videos about lots of things that I love. And I just wanted to say thank you because all of my Hunter x Hunter videos have at least gotten over 10K views, which is huge for me. So I want to say thank you deeply, and I appreciate it. And I am here for the Hunter x Hunter crowd and the Hunter x Hunter fan base. I am with you. I am one of you. If you will accept me, then I am happy to continue to give you as many reviews as I can for as long as Hunter x Hunter chapters come out, as well as other videos on the property, because I love it. It's close to my heart. I'm wearing a Yu Yu Hakusho hoodie right now. I love Togashi's work, so I'm happy to. And I really do think that the Succession War is going to be, man, if this, like I said, if this sticks the landing, which is going to be hard to do, but he exceeded far of my expectations with Chimera Ant. If this gets anywhere close to the finale of Chimera Ant, this will probably be not only the best arc in Hunter x Hunter, but in like the top 5 manga arcs of all time for me. That being said, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment below to help it in the algorithm. Share it with other Hunter x Hunter fans if you want to. Subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 100,000 subscribers if you want to. And also, if you want to, you can help the channel on a deeper level by joining my Patreon or being a channel member. You can do it for as low as $1. And other than that, I love you guys. Have a good holiday, Christmas season, whatever you celebrate. And I'll talk to you next time.